Oops, we're in the future now. Oh my, what's happened? Where's the past gone? What's happening? The realities are melting all around us.
So we had a fantastic conference this weekend.
My retirement conference. And so I am particularly in the future now. So let's get the show started. Welcome to the Energy Show. Here we discuss the energy solutions to the problems of the modern age. It's all about emotional well-being. It's all about energy. And our happiness matters. Yes, I retired at the 25th GOE conference on the weekend as my retirement party. So I am now in my future. And it has occurred to me, so are we all. We are all in the future now. Oops. How did that
makes
happen?
me the GOE president, right, Silvia?
Yes, it does. I guess so.
Soften and flow. Right, okay.
and I'm an ex-president, which is also really quite amusing and amazing, because I have been a president for a while now, really since 1998. So
well, in some cultures, the ex-president is still the president.
Yes, and I like that. And and people were like, "Oh my God, this is terrible! You're retiring. Everything is going to come to an end. It's over. Everything's over." And I'm like, "Look, people, I can retire from being the president of the GOE, but I cannot retire from being Silvia. This is impossible. You cannot retire
That's a lifelong job, isn't it, being a Silvia?
Yes, it is. It's kind of a real lifelong job being a Silvia, or an Alex, as the case may be. Or please insert your own name here. You can't retire from anything, and I
was thinking that being a Silvia is like being the Pope, but the Pope can and has retired. So
yes, and yeah, there was a time before he was a Pope when he wasn't a Pope, whereas I have been a Silvia congruently, and all the way through ups and downs and thicks and thins. I have been the Silvia. And I will continue to be the Silvia until the day I shuffle my mortal coil, and then I'm going to be spooking around in the energy realms being a Silvia, all new and all afresh, and they're going to drive the entities up there crazy.
Well, now I'm the GOE president. It's my turn to go power mad, eh? And do lots of presidential decrees.
Yes, all the things that you absolutely hated about my rule, you can now reverse brutally. And this is quite funny.
Yes, let's bring back the negative end of the Sue scale and really
no.
in the quagmire of pain and suffering.
Oh, let's not, please, for the love of God. But it's really funny, this future thing.
Tickles me.
Now, our conference was themed around this whole future idea. The conference itself was called The Future of Modern Energy. And then we had segments like the future of modern energy training and the future of modern energy therapy. And your own personal future was the final section. And if you want to watch this, please feel free to join the GOE. It's only about, I don't know, $50 a year or something like that. And you can get to see the entire conference, which was jolly good fun. And the way we done that is I gave a little speech, about 10 minutes, outlining my ideas for the future of these things. And then we had a panel discussion of experienced energists who gave their input and insights. And our members were in the chat and they asked us questions, such as what is the difference between a therapist and a trainer, which I thought was a fascinating question. And one that I have never even begun to think that anybody would ever ask. So that was that was really quite intriguing. What was your personal highlight, sort of memories when you think about it?
Oh, it would certainly be your energy meditation you did, Silvia.
Interesting.
They They send me into alternate dimensions, universes, and I have very hazy memories of actually what happened. But I remember enjoying it. Yes, that was
That's a hallmark of
definitely
a good
highlight.
meditation when you don't remember what it was all about when you wake up.
Yeah, but it's
but
just that
I've
community connection we get with the conference, isn't it? Really,
yes,
it's everyone being together. It's that idea that together we are way more than the sum of our parts. This is the
yes,
human excellence that has propelled our species above all others.
yeah.
And it's our ability to connect, it's our ability to work together, it's our ability to take a common goal, common picture, common dream, and work together in our own different ways, lending our different energies and making the dream a reality. So yeah, that's what I love about conferences.
See, this is one of the things that I really pat myself on the back all the way down the timeline to the smallest aspects. I've always known that I'm mega weird. You know, I'm a classic case of you're not quite like all the other kids in the class.
At this point, I should interject and say, you're not weird, Sylvia. You're just
There's no
special.
need, yeah. Yeah, I definitely am special in that sense. Yes, absolutely. I've often said that on my demise, they open up my brain and they find it's really small. And I just worked really, really hard with what little I had to make something out of it. Like,
I think a little alien will pop out, like in Men in Black, and just start scuttling off back to their spaceship.
well, coming back to what I was saying there, or what we were saying there, I've always known that I'm not like the other kids in the class. So when I think something, I don't take it for granted that I'm right. I then take that which I think and I take it to many different people and see what they have to say about it. Because I'm fully aware that I'm not the one who stands for them all. I'm my thing, I know that I can't think everything and I can't be right all the time. I have always, from the absolute get-go beginning, always worked with a group of people who have their own ideas and where you can go and say, that's interesting, I built that in, or, well, none of those have the same experience as I do. So that's not something that's relevant then for everybody else. You know, that kind of feedback rather than insisting that I know what's for the best. Because I don't. I might have ideas, but they need to be tested in reality. And other people are the absolute best computers to test your versions of reality against. And I think that has been 100% the key to my research success. 100%. That I didn't get stuck, that it's been evolving and new things have come in. And this is only because there's been always a group involved that was giving their ideas and experiences and that they were factored in. So I hope the GOE will never, or whatever name it will have in the future, will never ever go to a place where there's one person who insists that they're the only channel of wisdom.
Napoleon had a huge problem with this, Sylvia. He used to really make him irate that he would have 10 generals in the room and he asked everyone to discuss their plans and ideas. And they would all 10 of these generals would say that his idea was the best and what an inspired genius leader he was. So he used to have this concept of the dumb general, which is that you put one general outside the tent and everyone else discusses plans and battle formations and strategies. And then you bring this guy in to give an honest opinion without knowing whose ideas were who. So, so he could actually get some validation that his ideas were in fact genius or the worst idea in the room. But
I'm glad he recognized. Yeah, I'm glad he recognized that. Oh man, that you can't think it up alone, and we're not designed. We are not designed to think everything all alone. And I think the very best leaders in the history of humanity have been those who really recognize that and surrounded themselves with good, honest people and done the thing together. And there's only one name in the history books, and that's really sad because it's not how it is. It's not how it is. And the same for research projects in science and art unfoldments. There's one person who might have instigated it. I will happily take the title of instigator. But this thing that we call modern energy now, that was co-created with thousands of people. And it wouldn't be anywhere near as good as it was if it hadn't have been. So I'm super happy and super proud. I'm thinking of sort of specific moments from the conference, because I had a real star event with something that one of our participants said. And that was Jocelyn Reynolds. She said that she had been speaking with her sister in a therapy format for 10 years. The usual kind of therapy talk, the bad things that happened, and that was nice. And then she said those words. She said, it was great. We were communicating wonderfully, but we didn't get anywhere. And then Star Matrix came in and everything changed. And now we really do find these whole new things to talk about and a different way of communicating. And that was like, oh, such a woohoo to me, because I know there's so many people out there who are trying to communicate with their husband, with their children, with, their friends, with themselves. And they're just not getting anywhere. They're just going round and round in circles with their old beliefs and things, And
I absolutely hate circular arguments. After about the third loop around this little circular track, it's like NASCAR racing, isn't it?
Or even
worse.
Look,
there it goes again. Oh, there it goes again. And then this means that, and that means this, and they did that, and then she did that.
Yeah.
It absolutely winds me up.
The
thing is, people can and do spend hours or days or months or even years going through these little circular.
Yeah. I used to have the same arguments with my ex-husband for 25 years. I kid you not, the same ones over and over and over again, until I got so tired of it that I divorced the guy. There was no progress. And Star Matrix, the conception that the positive memories are more important than the negative ones. And using that to raise energy, become more intelligent, communicate more deeply, get into this couple bubble where you're thinking not with two brains anymore, with one lonely brain anymore. You're having access to much more computing power around you. And you have insights that you can't have by yourself. That is such an extraordinary thing. And I was so happy when Jocelyn said that. And I am so delighted that we have two sisters on the other side of the world now having conversations that are not just circular, but they're actually discovering new things about each other, although they have been sisters for, I don't want to say many years, I don't know, 40 years, let's say. For 40 years, they've been sisters, and now they're discovering these new wonderful things about each other. I mean, imagine what that could do to a marriage, to a relationship, to the relationship with your kids.
Sylvia, the way I see it is, rather than going around in circles together, you're going forward together. That's how I see it. But by going forward together, you enter new places and new experiences, and you get to explore other parts of the the metaphorical world. Exactly.
You get a bigger picture. You get a bigger picture as well.
It's about exploring the new, not just going over the old.
And I think
too short for circles.
Yes, there's something else. I think that people have these rather rigid ideas, and they make entities of their friends, relations, whoever they are, colleagues, work colleagues. They have this idea who that person is. Now, anybody who's listening whatever you think that person is you're dealing with, they are not that. They are massively more than that. They are more than you could ever possibly conceptualize. They have more memories, more thoughts, more experiences, and more dimensions to them than you will ever know. They're fascinating people. They're not what you
Sylvia,
think they are.
it makes me think that when I've been in circular conversations with friends that are going over something round and round and round and round, I normally let them go 3 times because
That's very kind of you.
I normally go around. That's normally my patience limit, and the reason why is because that allows me to work out if it's a circle or a spiral.
Or if it's actually going somewhere.
Well, that's what I mean. A spiral goes somewhere, right?
A spiral goes somewhere.
But you still have to take that perspective and switch it. And then you can still work out if we're a 2-dimensional circle or we're going up into 3D space, which can actually evolve and actually go forward.
I love that metaphor. I was working on The Enchanted World the other day, which I'm going to retitle to Wonder World. 2004, an aspect of mine wrote a book in German. It's the only book in German she wrote. It was called Zauberwelt in German, and I translated it back in the day as Enchanted World, but I am going to change that to Wonder World. And I was just curious how my thinking had changed over the last 20 years. And it hadn't at all, actually. It hadn't at all. It's really fascinating that all the building blocks were already there in 2004. It was a fascinating insight. And one of the chapters that I sent out only just a week ago to somebody is called The Spiral Secret.
Okay.
And that is that thing that you're talking about, that whenever a circle turns up, the snake eating its own tail, in human thinking, you know right there, that's a total sign for you to know that this thinking is wrong. You are thinking about this completely wrong, because there's no such thing as a circle, a thing that just goes round and round and round in nature. It doesn't exist. Like in The Lion King, they got this scene where the new lion holds up the baby lion, and it's exactly the same. And it's not a circle of life. There's not one damn thing in that scene that is the same. Not one blade of grass, not one animal, not one cloud in the sky. There's nothing about it that is the same. And thinking that it's the same.
I can take a lot, Sylvia, but I don't think I can take a single word of criticism against The Lion King on religious reasons.
Yes, I know you love The Lion King. I do.
But be honest, The Lion King is the perfect
it's a beautiful movie
ever made and ever be.
Absolutely,
I have it any other way.
But it is because it's so very well known, and they're actually singing about the circle of life. I like to use that because so many people know about it. And it's an example how everybody accepts it. Oh, yeah, it's a circle of life. No, it's not. It's a spiral. It is an unfolding spiral, just like you said there. And to get us out of these, what do they call, diminishing circles, devil's circles, get less and less as you're getting older, or that's a result of thinking you're going in a circle. So let's stop. That's a big thing. The future is a spiral.
It reminds me, Sylvia, of what we were talking about yesterday on Bayes' theorem, and how just because the sun has risen in the sky for millennia, that doesn't automatically assume that it rises tomorrow.
No, not at all. Or just because the Earth has gone round the sun, or the moon round the Earth for God knows how many billions of years, totally doesn't mean that. A big comet could come along, or God knows what could happen, and it's over like that. And then we're somewhere else.
That blew my mind. It's been quite cloudy in the UK, and there was a very sunny day the other day. And I looked at the sun, and as we're approaching winter now, I imagined what the sun would look like from the other side. And then I had this thought, wait a minute, you'll get to see what it's like from the other side in 6 months' time. And I thought, whoa, we must be going,
whoa, man.
Whoa, man. The sun looks so far away, yet we're going to take the longest path to get to the other side of it. How cool is that?
That's very cool. Yeah, I mean, but the spiral thing and the breaking out of the old thought patterns, that's one of the wonderful things, because as you said, as soon as you get out of these destructive circles of thinking, there lies this whole new land, loads of new information, lots and lots and lots of new things that can be useful, discovered, explored. So top marks for the spiral.
It's interesting when we were talking about Napoleon and how people can be influenced, and how to avoid an echo chamber, you need to be firstly aware that you're in an echo chamber.
Yes.
And then actually put your ideas into the world and test it.
Do you know, it's funny you should say that.
I've been really fascinated. Oh, yeah, okay.
Please. I
give way, Sylvia. I give way.
A star event. Thank you. I'm an elder, so that's good. That's very good. I had a star event pop up just then when we were talking about echo chambers. I think I must have been, I'm just trying to track this. I must have been about 8 years old, and I had a friend, and we just sort of started playing around with lipsticks and such. And I had a ton of them for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I just did. And I showed her one, and I said, look, that's my favorite. And she said, oh, yes, that's my favorite too. And I had this weird sensation of weirdness when she said that. And I just picked up a random other one and held it up and said, this is my favorite. And she went, oh, yes, that's my favorite too. And my aspect was just so weirded out by that a person should just monkey back what I just said.
Can I tell you my explanation for why that happened?
Go.
Or my thoughts on why that happened was because I believe that when we meet someone or interact with someone, we need to make a template, an internal template of who they are, so we can then interact with that model, so we can understand feedback, behavior, and work in a social human setting. And my assumption is that the model we make, the random model before we know any more information, is that person is like ourselves. And now there's an expectancy that person is going to have their own opinions and their own emotions and beliefs, and they're going to have their own tastes.
Yep, that'd be fully my expectancy built on my own models. Yep.
And what it was a massive expectancy violation, because what actually happened was this person was 10 out of 10 sheep, giving sheep, as the Gen Zs might say.
Giving sheep.
Giving sheep. Sorry, I just had to compose myself.
It was very. It was so interesting, and but also it's kind of this is, as I say, these are 2 8-year-old girls that are going to the same school class, and from this perspective here, we can look at it and say, well, I'm guessing she wanted to be my friend. That's why she did that.
Mm-hmm.
But it had the exact opposite effect. I just could not take anything that she said after that seriously anymore.
That's the expectancy violation. That's the my goodness, this person is not who I thought they were. And the model gets updated, and there's massive suspicion over what they say now, because it's very, but also, I mean, it's the toys that don't behave like you expect them to, that children like to play with. You know, it's like the gyroscopes and the things that like a ball that bounces way higher than another ball, and it's like, whoa, or how's that work? Or a slimier slime, or all these something you press its tummy and it just goes.
Look, like when I got a lot older and I was doing things like NLP and such and behavior and what have you, I would have probably thought that's interesting. What causes her to do that, and try and research that further. But as an 8-year-old, I mean, I just completely lost all respect for her. I
Yes, you
didn't
were
believe
disgusted.
I didn't believe a single word that she said, and
Hey man,
made
you're
it my
giving sheep.
business. And it made it my business to stand on the opposite side of the playground from that moment forth. And in hindsight, I'm sorry that happened, but it was just so damn weird. And as a squirt, and back in the day, who could you possibly talk to about this weird thing that had just happened to you? That's the weirdest thing. And it caused me to be suspicious about what other people are saying. It did. It did. Not just to me personally, but also to other people and in general. And it caused a filter to occur rather than just taking whatever they're saying straight in, to have this filter, running it through a filter first. And I don't know. Perhaps the conspiracy realist was born on that very day. Who knows?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've figured out that my models of human reaction and how people react is probably about 99% accurate for people. So 99 out of 100 people I meet are logical beings, and they fall within this category of you say something to them nice and they'll smile. You poke them, they'll go, oh, hey, stop that. Basic input output, predictable behavior. And then I realized there was 1% where the input and the output was just massive. It was this black box of craziness. Like if you imagine a computer with all the wires, like someone just like an Enigma machine, but someone's put all the buttons in the wrong way and unplugged it. And for years, I just thought, wow, like, okay, so maybe this is my internal definition of whether someone is crazy or not. Is that the input and the output don't quite match. Obviously, in my advanced years, Sylvia, I've become aware that actually, if the input and output does match if the model is complex enough. So my younger aspect was clearly being able to compute internally input and output up to a point. But then there was this 1%, and my mind must have been like, well, 1% out of 100, that's reasonable. Let's just not deal with these people. Let's put the F filter in to kind of filter them out of my life, and therefore I've got 100% of a smaller group, but that's fine. But I think the model is it's like the world, isn't it? You can model anything in the world if your model is complex enough. Yes. If it has enough variables and enough elements you can change, and things relying on other things and parts relying on other parts, then you can actually like if, for example, I now know that stress is a huge random variable in people's lives. So as we know on the modern energy chart, we have all these different versions of what we can be. And so you meet somebody when they're a -7, for example, their behavior is going to be very different to a +7. And people are very different at these kind of stages. So actually, just by taking the energy perspective into it, you can make some incredibly complex models about human behavior that otherwise you weren't able to.
Yes. I call that increasing the complexity. This is a very, very interesting thing, because there was a time, I think, when I was learning how to do guided meditations and hypnosis, this happened, is that there was a person somewhere in a supermarket or something, they said something to me, and I had this flood of information about them come through me, like instantly. By the thing that they said and the way they looked and they stood there and the energy and all that, it was just like, and I remember very clearly taking a step back, holding up my hand, and inside my head I said very loudly, I don't want to know that much about you. I don't want to know that much about you. I've only just met you. What the hell? And I remember doing that. And I also remember undoing that again. And that was EMO, which came in 5 years later or so, where you'd actually have that person in front of you. And we have the Energist handshake, which goes, where you look at the person and you think to yourself, I don't know who you are, I don't know who you are. I'm laying down all my prejudices about men or gingers or sons or anything for that matter. I'm laying down all my prejudices. I don't know who you are. And step 2 is, now people, when you first do this, people obviously freak out. I don't know who you are. What the hell? I'm surrounded by weird monster strangers. Now tap, soften and flow, deep breath. Okay, let's just state that I don't know who you are, and I don't. Nobody can know anybody at that level completely. The second step is then, but I would love to know you. And there people have to do an awful lot of energy work, of tapping and doing emo and taking down shields and all sorts of things. And then the final step is the Energist handshake. Tell me who you are. Reveal yourself to me. I'll take it. And when that step happens, again, you need to literally just let that information flow in through and out, not try and consciously compute it, not try to block it from coming in, but just let it happen. Because it's kind of a full body experience to let that information come in. And then we can work perfectly without shields, without prejudices, without privilege, without any of this nonsense happening. We can actually work with this radiant energy body that is standing in front of us. This is as a modern energist, obviously, not as anything else. It's working as a modern energist. And
I believe that's how I would define prejudice, Sylvia. What I'm saying is, if you don't know someone, you base their actions and behavior on yourself, especially as a child. But the older you get, you might have a stereotype of a person, of a type of person in your head, and at which point that's then the model that gets updated. And that's really fascinating. I think that's also how we can recognize different cars we've seen. So if you've seen one car, for example, Ford, you might see a Toyota and be like, oh, that's a car, because, 4 wheels, body, made of metal. It's an interesting definition of prejudice, isn't it? When we don't update our model from the person in front of us, but actually just take a template and then just stick with that.
The problem comes particularly bothersome when a person has had a bad experience with that model, a personal bad experience with that particular model. Like, so there's cars going down the road and one of them is a red Ford, and you got run over by a red Ford when you were a kid, and you will have prejudices against every red Ford in existence now and ever. Because of that, unless you manage to stand in front of the red Ford and say, okay, there have been millions of them made, but none is like this one that I'm standing in front of. It's got its own production history, its own owners before me. It is, I don't know what you are, but I would like to know you because you're really cheap and perfect for my purposes. Reveal yourself to me. And that's how prejudice works, but also how you can get rid of prejudice. But as I say, please, ladies and gentlemen, don't murder, ladies, gentlemen, and all others. I must remember to say that. Don't murder me on Twitter X for what I've just said, because this is purely energy work I'm talking about. Not talking about anything else. Is that this is the energy of prejudice and shielding and trying to, and not liking certain people when they present themselves to you because they remind you of ... That was the big problem in energy healing, because somebody comes in and they remind you of Aunt Mary, got the same hair, the same sort of clothes, and then you're treating her as though she was Aunt Mary, and she's nothing like Aunt Mary. So
I think it's, Sylvia, I think it's incredible. In 34 minutes, we have now solved prejudice, racism. All sorts of
only for energists, though, not for anybody else. They still struggle along. When we are
they watch this video, they'll
work.
figure out. And at the end of the day, we all need to remember we're just big balls of energy, experiencing the world and the wonders in it together.
Yes, indeed we are. We are big balls of energy. So yeah, that's one of my star events. Somebody said that to me at a party.
Have you heard the cool thing about crowd wisdom?
No? Do we have time to talk of crowd wisdom now?
I think we're a bit at a loss if we didn't.
Go for it.
Aristotle, who lived thousands of years ago in Athens, was a guy that came up with the idea that saying that most people are idiots, right? But if you put enough of them together and get them to vote independently, say, for example, if whether someone's guilty, someone's not guilty.
The jury system.
Whether we should go invade Sparta or not invade Sparta, or so we spend our taxes here or there. Yeah, each person individually may or may not be a complete idiot, but when you add them all collectively together and allow them to vote without any influence from each other, then actually there's collective crowd wisdom that is better than anything. And this has been tested throughout the years. There's this famous experiment where they had this fair in England with a ox that was being weighed, and then the person that was closest would be winning that ox. And so this man got this experiment, put them together, and realized that it was actually the variation in the range of votes was massively different. There might have been butchers there with some practical experience, complete novices. And actually, when you combine all those averages together, you actually get a point that was pretty much spot on, 100% to the weight of the ox.
Well, now that tells us we need all opinions, right?
This is super fascinating, and it makes it so clear that there's that for democracy to work, we need to have a system where you have no idea what anyone else is voting for, because what really skews crowd wisdom is the social influence of knowing. Yes. So if say, for example, someone says at the ox fair, says that I am a butcher, I know for certainty this ox weighs 1,500 pounds. Everyone will look at that and say, I recognize you as being an authority figure. Therefore, my prediction will be exactly the same as yours.
Oh, the lipstick. Is this my favorite lipstick too?
It's interesting, isn't it? It's fascinating. It's fascinating. You get enough people acting independently, and you get a really good, predictable result at the end. It's the lipstick. It's the Napoleon's dumb general concept. It's escaping the echo chamber, and I absolutely find it fascinating. And what a wonderful feature of being human, eh?
Well, I am a great believer in humanity. I am really a great believer in humanity, that we are actually very interesting design with a lot of potential. And if we can stop running the wrong software on our systems and the wrong weird circles when they should be spirals instead, and that's just one example of so many where people, this causes unnecessary suffering, and I hate unnecessary suffering. I really do. We can just do the suffering that's really necessary, and no unnecessary suffering, please.
Indeed. And before we move on to any other topics such as consciousness, let's so that's something I'd be really interested in talking about in a future energy show, is consciousness, about machine learning, artificial intelligence. I think that's such a nice thing that we can add a nice energy perspective to in the future. So thanks to everyone for watching. If you're taking the GUE trainers training this weekend, have an absolutely amazing time. You're going to absolutely love it, and we thoroughly look forward to hearing.
It's the future.
It's exciting.
We are in the future now. That's the thing. We have thought for, I don't know about you guys, but I have thought for many years that I'm looking forward to the future, or I wonder what the future is going to be. Well, that's irrelevant now, because we're actually in it. We're inside the future. We're in it. And so that really does change the game somewhat. And I really love that. And
we're in the future, and don't we look incredible?
Oh, yeah. Amazing. Absolutely stunning. Stunning, brave and stunning we are. Okay, on that happy note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and all others. Ladies and gentlemen, and all others, thanks for watching. And if you have any suggestions, ideas, comments, topics that you'd like us to talk about, please leave them in the comments
Mm.
below. And remember to give us a like. And so lots of
Mm.
love. Until next time. Bye
Bye
for
for
now.
now.